Rodent Sports is back because we are now in my favorite time of the year. The 4 weeks of conference tournaments and then the first 2 weeks of the NCAA tournament are, for me, the best time of year in sports. I am a college basketball aficionado, and so I love what they call the little dance, which is the conference tournaments. We've completed the first week of conference tournaments. We have our first bid, so we're going to do this in two parts. We're going to talk about the non-Power 6 conferences first a little bit because they've been going on. And in fact, we've had our first automatic bid punched, which I'll speak about in a second. And then in part two, we'll do the big conferences who finished their regular seasons today, and we'll set those up for you as well. But let's talk about the little conference tournaments first, the non-Power 6, because that's really where the fun is, because most of these conferences are one-bid leagues. We do have a few where there was a chance for multiple bids, and we'll talk about those. But the drama there, the excitement, the joy when a team in one of those leagues wins the championship and knows they're going to the tournament is one of the best things in sports. And in this case, the first automatic bid came out of the Ohio Valley Conference in Evansville, Indiana, and it was also the center of the bubble universe at the time that it was going on last night because it featured Murray State, nationally ranked, longest win streak in the country, 18 wins in a row. They were playing Morehead State, 3 seed. And what a thriller. Murray State was up 12-2 and looked like they were just going to roll and dominate that championship game. But Morehead State stormed back with a 15-0 run, and from there it was a tight, highly contested, exciting contest that ended up going to the Racers. Murray State Racers win 71-67. Had they lost, they probably would have gotten an at-large bid, and the entire bubble world breathes a sigh of relief. And then the bubble universe, the center of the bubble universe shifted to the West Coast Conference, which is, again, one of these non-Power 5 conferences that are very good. They, of course, have the National Power Gonzaga in it, but unlike last year, where the rest of the conference really wasn't up to much, this year, the rest of the conference has probably had its best season ever and is looking at 3, maybe even 4 bids. The only thing I don't like about the West Coast Conference is they do something I really can't stand, which is instead of having a normal double bye into the quarterfinals, which a lot of big conferences do, they give their top 2 seeds a double bye into the semifinals. So you have what I call a Christmas tree bracket. So on the one end, the teams that finish in the bottom 4 of the league have to win 5 games to win the conference championship and get into the NCAA tournament, while the top 2 seeds only have to win 2, which I don't like. So instead of your typical 1 versus 8-9, 2 versus 7-10 quarterfinals, and then you just go from there, you have the 8-9 and the 7-10 play, but then the 8-9 plays the 5 and the 7-10 plays the 6. So that's the way they do it. I don't like it, but that's the way they do it. And we had a huge game in the third round of that, or in the third round of that tournament last night. San Francisco, one of those, and BYU, 2 of the teams that are on the bubble, trying to get into this tournament. San Francisco has been in a long time. BYU's been a fairly regular participant in the NCAA tournament even since moving to the West Coast. San Francisco beat Brigham Young, BYU, 75-63, and go into that semifinal with Gonzaga, which is a no-lose proposition for them. If San Francisco wins, they absolutely punch their ticket for sure. If they lose, they're losing to the team that's going to be either the number 1 or number 2 overall seed in the country when we get the bracket in a week from now. And then Santa Clara, who's also on the bubble and probably has to get to the final and maybe even has to win it to get in, they walloped Portland, so they will play St. Mary's, the number 2 seed. And of course, the other issue I don't like about these buys into the semifinals is that this is the first game Gonzaga and St. Mary's will have played in over a week since they played each other in the season finale. It would have been last Friday night, so this is 8 days off before they play here, so it'll be interesting to see what happens with St. Mary's and Santa Clara. The championship game is Tuesday night. At 9 o'clock Eastern time, 6 o'clock West Vegas time, and is again one of the best tournaments in the country. So the West Coast Conference is kind of where the bubble universe's nexus is going to be. Monday night and then Sunday. So Monday night and then Tuesday. But we have a bunch of other tournaments going on that are very interesting. One of the things that happens, there is a list. There's what I call the list. 4 teams that were in Division I NCAA basketball from its inception who have never been in the NCAA tournament. And all 4 teams that are on the list are staying on there this year. William & Mary, who's been close many times in the Colonial under their previous coach, who they unfortunately got rid of. They lost a play-in game with Northeastern last night in overtime, so they're staying on the list in the Colonial. St. Francis of Brooklyn, or from St. Francis of New York out of the Northeast, lost their first tournament game, and so they're staying on the list. The Citadel lost to Chattanooga by 5 points in the quarterfinals of the Southern Conference, so they are staying on the list. And last, but certainly not least, Army, who a couple of times in the past few years has had a chance to get off that list, has had a really good team. They lost to Lehigh in the quarterfinals on Thursday in a 4-5 matchup. So those are the 4 teams: Army, the Citadel, William & Mary, and St. Francis of Brooklyn. They stay on the list. 4 teams that were part of the NCAA from its inception in 1947, and they have not made the NCAA tournament. So there are a bunch of other little conferences that are going on. The big one is going to be on Tuesday in this sense, and I'm pointing you towards the Atlantic Sun Conference because they do something else I find ridiculous, which is they allow teams that are ineligible to participate, and for what I believe is the second or third time in the history of the Atlantic Sun tournament, an ineligible team has made the final, and they are hosting. That is Bellarmine of a very small school that was once NAIA and then of the Division II power for many years. They're in their second year in Division I, so they are ineligible for the NCAA tournament because while you are reclassifying, you cannot get to the NCAA tournament for 5 years. And Bellarmine was tied for the second best record in the Atlantic Sun, and they won their semifinal last night in a thriller against Liberty, won at Liberty 53-50. And instead of playing the regular season champion Jacksonville State was upset at home by Jacksonville 54-51. So you don't see that too often in the Atlantic Sun, 2 road teams winning in the semifinals. So Bellarmine will get to play at home for the Atlantic Sun Conference Tournament Championship against Jacksonville, and if they win, the regular season champ, which is Jacksonville State, will get into the NCAA tournament despite losing their semifinal. To me, that is a total and utter nonsense, and as good as Bellarmine is and as awesome as it would be for them to win the conference tournament championship, to me it's ridiculous that they're even in and allowed to participate. But that is a game I'm going to point you to Tuesday night because that is a huge game. That's a massive game for that reason, because you have the prospect of a team winning the conference tournament on the floor and not getting to the NCAA tournament, and a team that will be sitting at home watching getting to the NCAA tournament. And you'll have other fun little dance tournament games coming up. Another one that I'm going to point you to because we got a chance for a first timer is Winthrop and Longwood. That's actually going to be played today, so by the time you see this, it'll probably have been played. Longwood was pretty much the last team ever that was allowed to go up to Division I without a conference home, so they were an independent for several years and spent a lot of time in the wilderness before the NCAA smartly changed the rules and said you can't come to Division I basketball if you don't have a conference to go into. And they ended up in the Big South, and after years of struggle, they are the number one. They won the Big South regular season title, and they are taking on longtime Big South power Winthrop, who has won that conference many times. And but this is Longwood's chance out of Farmville, Virginia. So I have a little bit of interest there as a native Virginian, and it'll be really something if Longwood can pull this off and get in the tournament for the first time. And then there's just a lot of other great conference tournaments this week. That conferences that are finishing their regular season. The Western Athletic, the Mid-Eastern Athletic Conference, the Southwestern Athletic Conference. So many other good ones. The Patriot League, which I've referenced with Army, they're continuing their conference tournament, which they all play at campus sites. The Mountain West Conference, which is going to be which is going to be the center of the bubble universe in some respects, because you've got teams like San Diego State and Boise State, Wyoming, Colorado State, who are all in or around that bubble that could get in the NCAA tournament either by winning the conference tournament or putting up a good enough performance to get there to get in as well. One of the best conference tournaments in terms of the non-Power 5 is the Southern, which started on Saturday and is going to go till Monday night. They're in their semifinals on Sunday. Chattanooga's the regular season champ there. They are a really, really good team, and we'll see if they can pull that off. But the conference tournaments are a lot of fun, especially the ones in the one big leagues or bubble leagues, and of course one of the best ones too, although it's going to change again because Loyola of Chicago is leaving this conference, is the Missouri Valley. That final is between Loyola of Chicago and Drake, two teams who are right around the bubble. So one team is going to get off the bubble and into the NCAA tournament on Sunday, and the other is going to have that long, terrible wait of a week to see if they're going to make it. And as a Virginia Commonwealth University fan, whose teams used to play in the Colonial, so they used to have a Monday night final, and then that wait from Monday to Sunday, when you're on the bubble, is excruciating. But that's why we love it. That's why we love this time of year. That's why we love the little conference tournaments. The big conferences, most of them finished their regular seasons yesterday. There's a few outstanding issues to be settled today, so those are going to get settled today, and then I will come back and set up the Power Six, the Big East, SEC, Pac-12, Big 12, Big 10, ACC, and I'll mention the I'll mention the Atlantic 10 since they're not a Power 6 conference, but their tournament is next week, and of course it involves Virginia Commonwealth University, who's on the bubble, squarely on the bubble, along with some other teams in that conference. So thanks for watching, and talk to you guys later.